Lucky Lefty podcast. The Onora boys are definitely in the building. It's Tuesday. We're brought to you by Onora Whiskey. OnoraWhiskey.com. It is that premium American whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, by all means, you got to do it
responsibly.
Make sure you do it responsibly. Look, Left, great show today. Howard Griffith from the BTN Network is going to join us second half of the show. We're going to find out the view of Notre Dame nationally based upon some crazy things that have happened over the last month. And then we'll preview Big Ten football and the changes that will be coming with the addition of USC and UCLA. And does Big Ten football really have a chance to win a national championship? That might align with Notre Dame because I have something special. We're going to hear from one of my mentors and in the business, Stephen Bardo, who has a great podcast, Bardo's Breakdown. You want to hear anything about college basketball? You know, Stephen Bardo is a college basketball analyst, Fox Sports, Big Ten Network, ESPN, everybody. That's how good he is. He does it for everyone. He has his own podcast. He said some very interesting things about basketball in the Big Ten, which is going to lead us to our conversation that Cam McDaniel started on Friday's show. Right? So as always, Apple Podcast, Spotify, in conjunction with CFB Nation and Irish Breakdown, home of the Misguided Passion. It's the Lucky Lefty podcast you already know. We spin it different. Left, we'll get to your wing recommendation at the end of the show as well.
Listen.
I peeped it.
Listen.
And I'm trying it today. I just want to let you know I'll be trying it today.
It is the best flavor I've ever had. I can't explain. It's crazy.
Let's get this started, right? I had the pleasure of co-hosting with Cam McDaniel on Friday. And we touched on what he talked about. But I wanted to bring it back for LL Nation because a lot of the fans reached out and asked for specifics about what Cam said in the comments and questions on YouTube and on the downloads in the podcast or Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Once again, we appreciate you, LL Nation, Notre Dame fans. So here is a snippet, and it was almost 8 minutes, but here is about 3.5 minutes of Cam McDaniel on Friday, co-hosting with myself, when he was talking about tradition at Notre Dame and change that could benefit Marcus Freeman. Check it out.
I've been talking to a couple people about this recently. This topic's been coming up. And I think that one thing, we talked about that transition from the old to the new.
Yeah.
And, man, if you want to, if you want to be a part of legacy in a way, like, you got to realize, like, you're creating it, like, you're growing with it, like, it's growth. And there is definitely, like, entitled consciousness around the Notre Dame kind of community, I would say, that ultimately, like, that has to go. That has to be shed off in order for, I think, in order for things to really move in the way that, like, a Marcus Freeman would need it to move in order to kind of be in sync or be in step with what I think he's trying to do as a philosophy there, because it's different. It's unique. It's new. It's a new expression. And sometimes people, like, we're a very traditional university in so many ways, especially when it comes to football. It's, it's greatly esteemed for what has been done there. And I think we've embraced a lot of new on the external, like gave the stadium a makeover. We've create like new facilities, a whole new coaching staff. But I feel like there's something internally, going on there, and really like at a deeper level where you talk about the Notre Dame like community as a whole. I feel like if we can shed off, some of that, more of that entitlement mentality, kind of like the almost like the arrogance of that, because there's just some straight up arrogant dudes sometimes that like you get from ND. And I'll be the first to say it because, I've been around it. But there's also just some of the most amazing human beings I've ever met that like embody like the true ethos of what I think Notre Dame like really means and like what it is. And I think like the more, we start to embrace that, like that authentic expression and kind of embracing some of this, this new era, if you will. Yeah, man, I think Marcus Freeman could be that guy. I do think that there's a component of embracing some of the aspects of that tradition that are really unique. And if it's done in a way that's intentional and sacred, then I think it's worth it. Like, I think that first summer and like freshman year, it really is a great exercise to be linked into the student body. And that again is just more of the ethos of Notre Dame that I would say is like the stuff that like keep that, like keep some of that. But after, they've done their redshirt freshman year or whatever, like gone through summer and they're linked in with the student body, give them opportunities to be linked in with the student body, but just know that like their life looks different than everybody else. Like it just does.
Left, I've had this conversation with you, and you've been honest and said, look, it's hard to change and do certain things for the football program when you're looking at the son of a Silicon Valley company, son of a Fortune 500 company, daughter of an heiress of this particular trust fund, or like you're surrounded by that in Notre Dame. So within the community, how do you feel like they're going to do anything to make athletes feel special or invest in them feeling special? And that's the difficulty of the tradition at Notre Dame. Like you do have that type of classroom, which is actually cool. I would have loved to have that type of classroom. I look to my left, and the daughter of the president of Boeing is like right there next to me. I get to rub shoulders. I get to chat it up with the daughter of this startup company that is now, top 10 in the world. You don't get those experiences, and that's why Notre Dame is special. It's one of one, and that's why we asked the question yesterday. Like knowing that Notre Dame is one of one, and the growth that college football is making and the evolution that's taking place, if Notre Dame never keeps up and they end up winning one championship every 10 years, would you be satisfied with that? Because, look, the culture is the culture. Could there be some things that they could change that would make things more feasible for Marcus Freeman to do what he wants to do and have his vision come into play? Probably. Will that happen? That's the $1 million question, right? So
I think that I think will it happen? A lot of things got to change that's outside of the goo that don't play or don't take part in football. That got to be on the home team. I think Notre Dame's just I'm going to do it my way type of place, which creates a certain arrogance that I think it makes it what it is. I think if Notre Dame didn't have the arrogance it had when it came to where they feel where their position is in college football, then they wouldn't be independent. It'd be like, of course we'll be a freaking Big Ten team or ACC competitor, but it's something about that arrogance, which makes Notre Dame a hate it or love it type of place, which I think is what it's like, you buy it or you take it or leave it. Jesus said you take one side or the other, but don't stay on the fence. And I think Notre Dame is a place where you don't stay on the fence for a good reason at the same time. Well, Marcus Freeman, what you have to do at Notre Dame is what Notre Dame is built off of. And that's a lot of things that you can't exactly quantify. You ask any Notre Dame person, what do you like about Notre Dame so much? And they always tell you the same thing. I just don't know. You got to be there. So when it comes to is Marcus Freeman is structurally and all the things are going to happen and go his way, you just don't know either. You just got to be there. And so for him, can he win it? He's got to pull it out of a magic hat, because a lot of that is what makes the spectacle and the mystery of Notre Dame so great. Because I'm sure asking from 88, how did they do it? They asking, how are you going to do it now? So I think that's something that maybe Notre Dame likes leaning on. They like to have that, we're really good and we're elite in a lot of ways, but we might surprise you with a championship here or there, but we'll always be in the running. And I think going back to what Notre Dame's green is really about, and that's that cash, the business model is set up great. If you can make $1 million from the bookstore every home game, just winning 9 or 10 games, would you change it, Shaun? Would you change the bit? Because if you try to scale and you can't keep up with the scale, you end up turning into the Cleveland Browns. So I think Notre Dame is really got comfortable with the fact that we can make this money with our eyes closed if we just stay and maintain a certain level. Don't give up the things that make us who we are and give us that arrogance that we can win in doubt of, in spite of. Don't give that up. Because if we give that up, we lay our cards out, and then we have to be like everybody else. So I think that they're holding on to winning in spite of as a motto.
Yeah. And
when that happens, you would never have the support or full support from the program or the administration as you want it. Because sometimes you got to go with the flow. And that's not Notre Dame. That's not how we operate. That's why we are in the peculiar positions that we end up being in, honestly. And so what Marcus Freeman has to do is convince the guys in the building, once you get them there, no matter who it is or how you got them, the guys in the building, you have to convince them that they can play beyond the level of their talent. They have to play on another level of team spirit. They have to play beyond what the cards are laid in front of them. It's all messaging. It's all psychological training when you go to Notre Dame. That's why you can't. Now, it's not for everybody because it's a psychological piece that's always operating because you're always going against the grain because they believe in doing it their way. That's why the licensing on the logo has went from 16 to 22%. Because of inflation, apparently.
Man, it's crazy. And the more I thought about it, look, the economics, because we know economically and financially that Notre Dame they're good stewards. They're good stewards, which means they're doing pretty well. That endowment is doing pretty well. The revenue was doing pretty well. New apparel deal on the way. New TV deal on the way. Financially, Notre Dame is in a really good spot. It's a really good spot. Now,
you have to mention, though, that 80 to 85% of college football programs at major universities don't make money. A lot of them don't make money. Notre Dame is well beyond making a minimum wage for their return on investment.
So was Cam correct in saying things are different? Like the football players are different on campus. They just are. Their life is different. Like, I don't care who you're in the classroom with. There's no one in that classroom that has a life like a Notre Dame football player over the next 4 years.
Yeah. Well, it's about time management. and you just don't have a lot of time compared to the average student, even though that they're special in their own right. You got to think these also are kids that, outside of that perimeter of Notre Dame, Indiana, I mean, they're living great regardless. So this is a summer camp boarding school fantasy bubble where oh, you on mute, where the kids are serious, but not serious to where they leave that bubble and have to really figure things out in life. Like, they work hard.
I don't know why you made me think about the movie American Pie. That one time I was at band camp and it's like when you said that, I was like, oh my God.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So it's a hyper inflated version of what you think of, like you said, like you sitting next to people that that their kids are the inherent of like air, like this is the king of air, and his son is next to you, and then Phil Knight's cousin is on the other side, and they both cheating off each other's tests. It's like unreal. So it's just a different environment when you're a football player, thinking that you have a certain. It's like high school, you athletes in high school, they kind of got a little more pull. They look a little differently. But at Notre Dame, you truly around kids that could care less in the grand scheme of things.
In the grand scheme of things, yes.
Like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'll go to your games.
Right.
I'll watch you play, but I don't care. Like if the football program just said, we're not playing this Saturday, kids would be upset, but they would have other stuff to do. So
if I randomly just walked the campus after a game and asked a group of guys, what the score was,
they'd be like, oh yeah, I was walking by. I'm on the way to do something amazing. in my Range Rover over here. I'm about to go golf or something, but it's going on campus. It's cool. But like, for instance, you go to Nebraska where football players are, you walk around there like, oh my God.
The entire state is like invested in one school. I mean, I got two fingers up on one school.
Right. For the recruits. I
just
saw you on rivals.com.
Right.
I know your whole birthday. I know your mom, where she work at, how you grew up. I know your little brother and how he likes, playing the piano. At Notre Dame, it's like you living in the present because everybody is so focused on what they got to do, which is fair. But public school vibes, no. I mean, they're like, oh my God, you're the quarterback.
Yeah.
The quarterback at Notre Dame, you can have a C and they are not looking out for you.
Yo, I'm glad you mentioned that. Lucky Lefty podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation in conjunction with Irish Breakdown, all of our great content. Leave 5 stars, leave your comments. We greatly appreciate it. It's the Lucky Lefty podcast. We spin it different. You mentioned the quarterback position coming up shortly. We're going to get into it because this dude thinks that quarterback is the most important position in college football.
Of course.
I disagree. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. Howard Griffith joins us at the bottom of the show. Left. So we know Notre Dame is good financially. I want to introduce, as I said before, my mentor, friend, Stephen Bardo. He has a great podcast for college basketball, analyst for the Big Ten Network, Fox Sports, and ESPN. What's wrong with the Big Ten and the NCAA tournament? That was his entire show. That was his entire podcast. And I'm listening, and it came down to one thing, Left. What do you think it was?
lack
Do
of
you
wing talent.
think it was players? Do you think it was strategy? No. Stephen Bardo brought up this. Just think about it. Maybe it's a Midwest thing. I don't know. Check it out. Check it out.
What's wrong with the Big Ten? Let me ask you this. Let me bring this to you, because many of you may not know this. So the NCAA pays out conference units. What are conference units? Conference units are when a team plays in the NCAA tournament. There's a number that goes to each school, their conference, for each team that plays a game. You don't even have to win, you just have to play the game. So each unit is worth $337,000. Payouts are based on a 6-year rolling period, and the payouts rise 3%. So my theory with the Big Ten, they have all these teams in, but they don't advance. But they've almost set up like an endowment situation. Because if you're getting 7 to 9 schools in a year and you're getting payouts per school per year over a 6-year rolling period, you would, I don't know, I would think you would want to go deeper in the tournament. So here's the SEC so far. I calculated out of Missouri, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Auburn, and Texas A&M. So the SEC got 2, 4, 6, 7 teams in, right? And out of the games that they're playing, because I added up the Sweet 16 games that Alabama, Tennessee, and Arkansas are going to play in, they've got 16 units so far. That's $5,392,000, and that's still counting. So when you look at the payout so far for the SEC, it's $5,392,000. Now, if you get 8 or 9 teams in every year, like you do the Big Ten, and you have, I don't know, 10 to 12 units, you're looking at somewhere in the range. If we say $337,000 per payout, and you get 10 units a year, you're looking at a $3 to $4 million endowment, whether you went deep in the tournament or not. Paid out over a 6-year rolling period. So if you take the last 10 seasons of Big Ten and that number continues to rise every year, that payout number. So maybe 10 years ago, it might have been at 200,000, but you guys are starting to get my point, right? So economically, the Big Ten is fine. Nationally, from a competitive perspective, they're getting crushed. And I mean, Jim Boeheim, what he said about Big Ten last year in the tournament, he's right. Big Ten in the tournament this year, he's right. I hate to admit it, but he's right. But I kept scratching my head like the SEC went out and wanted to make sure that their basketball conference was competitive. So they went out and made sure that when they made hires, they made really good basketball hires. And so now you're looking at the SEC as one of the most successful conferences in the country basketball-wise. And that wasn't the case 15, 20 years ago. So they're not only have gotten more competitive, but now they're growing their NCAA tournament endowment, is, for lack of a better word, is what I'll call it. So is the Big Ten more concerned with making sure that endowment's in place, or are they really trying to win a national championship? Because to me, if you're really trying to win a national championship as a program and as a conference, then the coaches that you bring in from here on out need to have a style that's conducive to March, not for Big Ten basketball.
Let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. We're going to bring this to Notre Dame. There's a reason why I played it. We're going to bring this to Notre Dame because winning ways at Notre Dame, right? Question of the day. We know what Marcus Freeman wants to do, the style of football he wants to play. Is that style of play conducive to winning national titles? Let us know. Is that style of play conducive to Notre Dame winning national titles? That's the lucky lefty question of the day. That's very important. Maybe it's a Midwest thing, Left. See, maybe the South loves to spend money. We know they love to spend money out in the left coast where you're at. Yep. We know they love to spend money on the East Coast. Maybe in the Midwest schools, you know, Stephen Bardo, member of the 1989 Flying Illini. He's a Big Ten baby. He had to admit it. Once again, the host of Bardo's Breakdown, best college basketball podcast around. Let me tell you something. He's pointed out from a basketball standpoint, but it remains. The Big Ten, check this out. There's only one school in the Big Ten. One coach nationally that you can say is a great coach and has the resume. That's Tom Izzo in Michigan State.
Yeah.
Championship, multiple Big Ten championships, multiple Final Fours.
Ohio State was done when they lost Thad Matta.
Right? You had a nice run with Michigan.
Oh, hold on.
Before Juwan got there.
Juwan Howard, yeah,
right?
Howard.
Juwan Howard has done a good job. He hasn't gotten to a Final Four yet, though.
Oh,
his predecessor got to multiple.
Early. Okay, he's early.
His predecessor got to multiple. Right?
Wisconsin's coach.
But my point is, Michigan State, for basketball, is the standard in the Big Ten. From a resume standpoint. Illinois ain't doing nothing in the tournament. Ohio State ain't doing nothing in the tournament.
Ohio State didn't make the tournament.
Michigan did it, not as long as Izzo has done it, but Michigan did it for a while. Indiana ain't doing nothing in the tournament. Purdue,
and that's a shame. When they lost,
Purdue's not doing anything in the tournament.
Even though they were number one throughout the season, though.
Got spanked. Fairleigh Dickinson, bro. What are we talking about? So what he says is apropos. What is he saying? In order to make money, you got to spend money. The SEC, that had a subpar basketball conference, chose to invest. What investment did they make? The first big investment is coaching. You have to invest in coaching. In football, you have to invest in coaching. And if you have a problem or you pause at investing money in big-time coaching, whether it's basketball, football, you don't want to win championships. You just don't. You don't. You don't want to win championships. You don't. Tom Izzo holds on to his assistants, and they're paid very well. Now, does he win every year? No. Does he struggle? Yeah. I have more confidence in Michigan State in the tournament every year. Tom Izzo beat Zion Williamson and that whole crew with tell me how many. I think they have one player off their team in the NBA right now. One out of starting five. One. Don't tell me coaching doesn't matter.
Coaching matters,
especially in big games and in the tournament.
Especially in big games. It may not matter when you're playing these scrub-a-dub teams. That's what recruiting matters. Recruiting, I would say recruiting and coaching, what percent holds.
But that goes hand in hand.
It goes hand in hand, but I would say coaching is at least 45%.
That goes hand in hand. And the recruiting goes to what he said at the end. Are you hiring coaches to win the Big Ten? Or are you hiring coaches to win a national championship? Because if you just want a coach that can win the Big Ten, that's easy. Everybody can play the same way. Go get some plodding big men and run up and down the court with no athleticism. You can win the Big Ten. Purdue did it. They had Zach Edey, and they just dominated the Big Ten. And then when the guards had to play some real guards, those freshman guards had to play real guards, what happened? They got exposed.
But football in the Big Ten does it.
But they only have what's the same left?
Beat Ohio State or to beat Michigan. That's the whole Big Ten's goal.
No. Ohio State is the only program that can compete with Georgia and Alabama in the Big Ten. There's only one
conference.
Yes.
The Big Ten's like, we're just trying to beat Ohio State every year. We beat Ohio State, that's our Super Bowl.
That's it.
And then the Big Ten championship's like a consolation prize.
That's it. Brett Bielema isn't.
Purdue win last year.
Brett Bielema isn't thinking about winning a national championship.
No.
Kirk Ferentz isn't thinking about winning a national championship.
If Illinois beat Michigan last year, they would have felt good about the
Dude, Brett Bielema would have got a new contract already.
Yeah, for real.
If he had beaten Michigan. I promise you. New contract.
Extension, big money.
And I had to ask myself, is it just a Midwest thing?
Well, now that it's expanding, SC gonna try to win a championship. So they may be trying to compete with Ohio State, and they may get bigger linemen because of that. So as long as Lincoln Riley can pull these quarterbacks, they're gonna be in contention with Ohio State.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'll agree with that. So that brings me, we're talking about Notre Dame, winning ways, style of play, what they want to do and how they want to win. And it just begs the question, can they win with Marcus Freeman's identity?
I kind of told him this today in the team meeting, is that I have a vision and identity I want for our team, and that's to be a team that can run the ball and stop the run, right? I believe in our O-line and our D-line being the foundation of our team. And so I'm excited to see if that can become our identity. That's my vision. I also want to see a team that's aggressive. That's one of our mantras, challenge everything. What does that mean? It means be aggressive. Do not play timid. Do not play scared. Think outside the box offensively and defensively, schematically. Be okay with taking chances.
Well, we are afraid of taking chances. That's just not how we're built. We wouldn't have such a huge endowment if we were taking chances, because we're not spending money that we don't have to. We were trying to negotiate a 1.2 million buyout or something really ridiculous. What was it? It was real on brand with what we do as a program. So taking a chance, no. However, Marcus Freeman can inspire his team to take a chance to play beyond their means, to play together and realize that, I would be honest, I'm like, listen, guys, our brand is against the grain. So if y'all don't band together and pull a new inspiration beyond just winning games, like 2015, I really believe in 2015, we came out of camp saying we don't care who's out there. We're winning it all. We didn't need anybody else, which was important because, we inspired each other. We played great. We had a bunch of first round, all conference award winners, preseason, all type of stuff going on. But that's because we were so tight knit as a group that we played better and was more intimidating than the teams that we played. And we was ready for the challenge. I think that's where it comes from. You're not going to get saved by a bus full of 5 stars at Notre Dame. It's just not going to happen. It's just not pulling it in like that. We'll get a couple off the Apple truck. We get a couple apples off the Apple truck that heading down to Georgia. we get a couple peaches off the peach tree they forgot about. We may steal one big one, but that, for the most part.
But see, the ones we can't miss on as we get ready to bring our big bro on, you can battle all across the country for 5 stars left. But when you got 170 miles away in Chicago at the most important position, ain't no way in the world. That's like missing out on 3 if you miss that one.
Yeah.
You miss out on that one, you might as well drop 3 of them because that's the feeling.
The ones in your backyard.
This is home brand right in the backyard.
You gotta get the ones in your backyard.
That should have been, dude. You should have sold. That should have been sewn up sophomore year.
That's right. You're going to go to the peach fair, but you got the peach tree in the backyard.
We play nice. Back in the old days, the briefcase would have been going up to Chicago sophomore year.
What they call it, the pot of gold. The pot of gold would have been, the rainbow would have extended right into Chicago, right there. You would have been getting all types of pots of gold fighting out.
Lucky Lefty podcast. We are pleased to welcome in our big brother to the program. He is a college football analyst, and I just call him the maven of Big Ten football. Howard Griffith joins us right here on the Lucky Lefty podcast. Bro, how you feeling today?
Man, I'm great, man. How you fellas doing today?
Hey, we're just trying to keep the faith. Waiting for
that. Moving bags. I mean, you want to talk about keeping the faith.
Hey, that's what it's gonna take. That's what it's gonna take.
So we were talking about winning ways in 2023. And we played a clip from your fellow Big Ten brother and your fellow Illini brother, Stephen Bardo, who spoke eloquently about the struggles of the Big Ten in the NCAA tournament and winning championships. And he questioned, and he did it so well to the point he's like, yo, I still want my job, so I want to make sure I do this the right way. But he questioned whether or not Big Ten schools wanted to win Big Ten championships or national championships based upon the way they invest in their programs and some of the decisions they make. And if you look, the standard, in my opinion, from a national standpoint in basketball has been Tom Izzo and Michigan State. Like that's the standard.
Yep.
As far as competing for national championships in football, it's Ohio State. That's the only program you truly feel like, okay, they have a real good shot up against Alabama, Georgia, and the other top-tier teams. What is it about the Big Ten? Is it a Midwest thing? We're trying to figure it out. Is it regional? What is it that just makes it seem like schools in this region, in this area, are cool with stacking the money, collecting the postseason checks, but not necessarily investing and going all out and winning like teams in the South, teams on the East Coast, teams on the West Coast?
I'd say this. I believe that they are investing. I think the challenge becomes, if you're talking about basketball, how do you build your program, right? Are you building it, and you mentioned, are you building it to win Big Ten titles? Or are you building it to win national championships and run deep into the NC2A? And when you talk about running deep into the NC2A, this was brought to my attention a couple of years ago. It's about guard play. At the national, when you're trying to win the championship, it is absolutely about the guard play that you have. And the Big Ten has kind of built their way, and not so much Michigan State, but most of they want the big guy. They want the big guy that can be athletic and move around the rim and control it, throw it inside. But when they have to run up and down, it seems like it's a little bit of a different game.
Wow.
And we saw a little bit of that in the Big Ten basketball tournament when you saw, whether it was Rutgers, where you saw Penn State, and they were really pushing the ball up and down the court and making a lot of things happen. And I think that's one of the reasons you saw so many teams that you thought were going to at least be able to advance, be gone in the first round when you talk about the Big Ten playoffs. When you look at football, man, it's hard, man. It is hard. I truly believe on the football side of things, as this becomes with the point guard play, when you start to make that run, you got to have a guy under center that can make decisions, can make plays. And look, I know how important defense is. But, man, if the guy under center is not on point taking care of the football, if the guy calling the plays and the guy under center are not on the same page, it's hard to be able to advance. Because I think if you look at, since the playoffs started really into this situation, what was it, 26-23, the Georgia-Alabama game? That was a tight one, went to overtime. But the rest of them, I mean, you're talking about outside of maybe one that was like 38. Most of these games were 40-plus points.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to score points, and that comes from having that guy under center.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because we can go right into the debate the Left and I were having, and we'll let Howard can jump into the fray as we put it out there on social media. See, I'm of the mindset, I look at things differently, and I said, man, it's style of play for me.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the NFL, wholeheartedly, I will agree. Quarterback is the most important position.
Mm-hmm.
For me in college football, it's important, but it depends on the makeup, right? Because if you're going to win with a young quarterback, he better be a Bryce Young. He better be a lottery pick, number one pick, stud. That's, man, coming in the door, ready to go. If he's not that type of dude, he better be a veteran. He better be a really solid veteran leader that's been there 3 or 4 years that you can depend upon, because you can transfer what you want from the coaching staff and the offensive coordinator into both of those type of quarterbacks. So they're
But
both
now
important.
but the veterans now are like the 25, 26-year-olds.
Oh,
They
so you
could be
just say
A's
Stetson
in
Bennett.
disguise. They could be because they're pretty old now in terms of getting these experienced veteran quarterbacks. So it's beginning to be a huge gap between the two.
So for me, we're questioning style of play right now. Like style of play. We saw Nick Saban start his dynasty without the best quarterbacks, but he had veteran quarterbacks that he could depend on, that he could trust. I would say the most transformational recruit he ever had wasn't a quarterback, it was a wide receiver. I think once he got Julio Jones, it just started to change the way their recruiting classes look moving forward, especially offensively. And eventually he got to the big-time quarterbacks like the Tuas and the Bryce Youngs as things moved on. So, Notre Dame, in a way, has a feeling that, okay, Sam Hartman can be the difference. And for me, I'm like, warning, I've been very honest with Notre Dame fans. Like, yo, we need to relax because that's a lot of pressure to put on a young man that has not played. Playing at Wake Forest is one thing. Playing in Notre Dame is being a quarterback in Notre Dame is a totally different beast. Especially when Caleb Williams walks in, especially when Ryan Day and that Ohio State team walk into Notre Dame Stadium. You've never been under the lights in that environment. You play Clemson once a year. You got 3 games this year where literally the games might be on your shoulder. Like, go win it. Like,
that's why I brought you here for those 3 games.
That's why you were brought here. Exactly. Like, in that position, is he or should he be deemed as the most important person on the team? That's a tough spot, bro. That's a tough spot.
Listen, but I think both could be true, right? I think one of the challenges is, and you know this better than me, when you are the guy at Notre Dame, I mean, you are, once you've been named, once you've gone out and won games, once you've been able to elevate on the national the scene, you're a household name, right? And Notre Dame is a place where they either love you or hate you as far as the outdoor, the fans, the fan base, right? So I do believe that for Notre Dame to take the next step, they have to have a dynamic dude under center. I absolutely believe it. And yes, style of play is important, but what dictates style of play? Ohio State, Alabama, right? USC now, Michigan, you can say. I mean, those are the places that are dictating what's going to happen, because the challenge becomes, if you're not playing against that style of offense, if you're not practicing against that style of offense, and all of a sudden these athletes come at you, you've got problems. We can flip it really quickly to kind of give you an idea of it. When Michigan got ready to play TCU, most people say, well, it's TCU, small team, not giving them a lot of credit. The challenge was Michigan could not create the defensive style of play that they watched those linebackers. I mean, these dudes were 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and could run, and are going to stand up your guards and tackles, and you're not going to be able to get there. So all you need to do is be a step slow. And that's what happened with Michigan. They were a step slow on the offensive side. So the same thing happens when you talk about style of play with offense. You talk about Nick Saban, and when he made that switch. He made the switch because he was adamant about college football, it's unsafe this way. You can't play all tempo and all of this stuff. You're putting players in a bad position. Then all of a sudden he decided he wanted to join. He was convinced that that's what he needed to do. Lane Kiffin convinced him this is the way we got to win. Mike Locksley convinced him this is the way you got to win. And that's what happened. And then you saw them go on their run. Now, unfortunately for them, Georgia stepped in, and Kirby Smart went to Georgia, and he took the blueprint from Alabama. But what did he do? He put a twist on it. You talk to Alabama guys, they're like, man, this is work. Every day is work. Every day is work. You talk to Georgia guys, man, we having the time of our life down here. You go to Georgia. I mean, the party starts Friday night. It starts Friday night all the way through the game. So he changed the it's still business, but he added his little twist to it, which was more excitement around the game. The players loved playing there. It wasn't as much work as it was in Alabama. But again, we're talking about the style of play. And right now, you look at what Caleb Williams is doing. He can get outside the pocket. He's going to spread it around. They've got receivers that are really talented and go get the football. But again, if you don't have that guy under center, I'm not talking about, you guys mentioned those 3 big games. Well, hell, every game is big for Notre Dame because that's how they got to get to the championship. You might be able to drop one, but you need to win them all. Those other places, man, they've got dynamic guys that take them to the next level. And when it becomes crunch time, they can make a difference. And for me, that's why it's at the quarterback position that's going to give you that opportunity to win that championship.
For me, the horses left. I remember Malik telling me, I played at Notre Dame. And then when I went to Florida, that first spring, I took the snap and I noticed that them big boys move different down there.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, man, this is different. That was first.
Yeah.
I remember you told me that and I said, yo, this is crazy. And Notre Dame always has really good offensive linemen, but I think when they get into those matchups, it's kind of unfair because they're going up against a different level of defensive line.
Yeah, it's a different intensity. The sizes are just different. A 265 lean and cutting athletic is different than a 265 that's just like, how are you 265? I can't tell if you 265 on the scale.
Uh-huh.
But on the field, you look about 295.
Mm-hmm.
And you moving like a 235 guy. Like, see, those type of things you can't account for when you're, obviously you're gonna have the technicality built in, the football smart. But when you're dealing with freaks of nature, Jadavion Clowney, those type of guys, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Will Anderson. You got to have dudes as well. Where a quarterback of that caliber is important, and that's why I think Notre Dame is so different. Is because there's a different expectation, and expectations is like pressure. It's a huge, heavy weight that you can't identify, but is there. And I think that's what Notre Dame gives, and we give that LeBron type of pressure, the type of pressure where you can be a Russell Westbrook and be Mr. Triple-Double and then come to the Lakers and be the last in shooting percentage.
Yeah.
In the league.
Yeah.
Get you a Malik Monk, come to the Lakers, shooting below 30%, goes to the Kings.
Now he's shooting 45.
Yeah.
6 man of the year. Because it's expectations. Notre Dame does and has that arrogance of the expectations of, okay, you can come here and we can stand alone, and if you win it, you're going to be on top of the world.
Yeah.
That's the expectation. But we're going to treat you like your mom did when you was a kid at McDonald's. You want a Happy Meal, cost $4. She give you 3 and say, make it enough.
Make it enough.
Make it enough. We're not going to give you the whole thing, but make it enough for the 3. You're going to be on top of the world. Yeah. And that's just the expectations plus challenges that Notre Dame gives itself. I mean, we even took the accountability of investigating ourselves instead of letting the NCAA investigate us. That's the type of arrogance we have in our own ability. So it's just different. But a quarterback changes or levels the scale.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk dynamic, you said the word dynamic. What type of package does that come in? I mean, does Sam Hartman have the wherewithal to be dynamic in the way that Notre Dame needs him to be dynamic? Does Notre Dame, they already have C.J. Carr, 5-star quarterback in the class of 2024 in the fold. He's a little bit more athletic, more in the mold of a Drake May, per se. Is he the one that's going to be more athletic? They have Kenny Minchie, someone that Malik knows that's fantastic in the 2023 class. Is he the one that's going to raise the level at the quarterback position? Because we're talking about quarterback. For me, the most important position moving forward for this program for me, because Notre Dame has had great quarterbacks. This is my point. The run from Everett Golson to Malik Zaire to Kaiser to Brandon Wimbush, you had good quarterbacks that if you developed them could have been great in different methods. Getting quarterbacks in Notre Dame has not been the problem. Developing them, that's questionable. When's the next time we're going to get a Stephon Tuitt? When's the next time we're going to get a Lewis Nix? When's the next time we're going to get some of these SEC-type defensive linemen? And that's why I jokingly said, yo, it's 170 miles away in the class of 2024 that is pretty important.
Yeah.
Like, you might want to get him because, for me, that's closing the gap for your squad. You start getting that SEC talent on the defensive line and develop the quarterback a little bit better. It could help you just the same as just getting that dynamic quarterback to carry the weight of putting up points. Because when you get into games against Alabama and Georgia, defensively, you don't have the front. You just don't have the front to really slow them down the way they need to be slowed down. So now your quarterback has to go toe-to-toe moving forward. That's asking a lot.
Yeah. I think, when you talk about defensive linemen, they're special, they're different. You brought up Nolan Smith. Tell you a story about Nolan Smith, right? I saw Nolan when he was a sophomore.
At IMG?
At IMG? Or
Yeah. Freak of nature.
And I'm telling you, then the dudes on the team, Houston was on that team, they were like, that's the best football player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He was just a freshman.
Yeah.
And they had 5-star dudes that were on the D-line. He didn't even start. I mean, obviously he didn't start, but I think he's probably a sophomore. But it was incredible, the athleticism that he had then. And then you look at what he did in the combine, you run, sub 4.3. 4.3, I mean, what?
Yeah.
These are different cats that can change your program. But they want to stay south, man. They really do. It's hard to get that caliber of athlete to the north. Now, you say, okay, well, the Bosa brothers, they came out of Fort Lauderdale and ended up at Ohio State, and both are dominant players, not only at the college game, but now at the pro game. Chase Young, dominant player at the college game, dominant player at the pro game. Chase Young was going to Maryland. And all of a sudden, things just took off for him. Goes to Ohio State, developed, continues to get better. And
he developed. He developed,
but he was still a freakish athlete when he walked on campus.
Yeah.
But they haven't. This is talking about Ohio State, who has a track record of those guys. They ain't found the next one.
Right.
They haven't found that next one. They've got guys that have been close.
Yeah, they don't have the next Chase Young. That's hurting them.
And from my perspective, I was spoiled because you go from one Bosa to the next, and Chase is sitting there, and it's like, oh man, they'll be able to figure it out. It's exactly, they'll figure it out. The next one is there. We just don't know who it is.
They're gonna start doing that with quarterbacks soon.
Yeah. But reality was he wasn't. Now,
Right.
receiver position, they've got it figured out. They cranking them out left and right over there. But I think it's just hard to find those difference makers in the defensive line. And you're right. If you find one, if it's one here in the north, in the Chicago area, I mean, hell, they got two guys here. To be quite honest, they got defensive tackle and defensive end.
Talk about it.
Yeah, could you get both of them?
You're darn right. You can. You should.
You should be able to get them now.
Yes.
Right? Now it's different now. I think that Marcus as he continues to develop and retool his coaching staff to his liking, I think they're going to get to that point because they're going to recruit. Marcus is going to recruit. He knows what that comes down to. You just got to be able to, that one guy that you can pick. It was like when Lou Holtz was there. Lou Holtz would say, Chris George, I'll take you. Bryant Young, and I'm going to take you. And there was no question
Right.
where else you were going.
Right.
Brian Young came to Illinois on a visit. He called me like on a Friday. He's like, no, it was like a Thursday. He said, I'm still coming, but I'm going to Notre Dame, but I'm going to come and hang out with you. Which, you got a chance to go to Notre Dame. I mean, what are you talking about here? You don't have a shot. So Notre Dame's got to get back to that. And I know the landscape of college athletics is different now than it was then, but still, you got to be able to go get that guy that can really have a change in your program. That can take it to that next level at some of those key positions. It's a must.
Lucky Lefty Podcast, pleased to have Big Ten Network's own Howard Griffith right here, Shaun Davis, Malik Zaire, talking about style of play, 2023. And like you said, Kirby put a new spin on what Nick Saban was doing. So now teams, Ryan Day came close. I mean, a valiant effort in that semifinal game against Georgia last year, to the point where the third quarter, I'm like, they might blow these dudes out. Like I felt like Georgia was on the ropes. I'm like, man, if they can get one more key stop, and then of course Harrison Jr. goes out with the injury, things start to turn. Georgia comes away with the win. Is that a tough victory for Ryan Day in that program to recover from?
I don't think it's any tougher than the loss was to Michigan, and here's why.
Okay.
When they lost to Michigan the year before, 2 years ago, I guess, everything in their program, starting on that Sunday, was targeted at beating Michigan, right? So it was an all-season workout program. It was, we need to look at the offense. We need to do this. We need to do that. We got to be better in all these areas. And then you go out and you lose to Michigan for the second time. So, then you have the reprieve. You're able to get back in it, and you're now all of a sudden back in the playoffs, and you got a chance to win it. I don't think that loss is damaging as the one was to Ohio State, because you built everything was, we got to do this. We've retooled our program. We've done this, and that's one of the challenges when all of a sudden the message is, here's where we need to be. And that's been the message that entire year. And you don't get there. And then all of a sudden, all the air is let out. And then all of a sudden, oh, shoot, we got a chance. It's hard. And, they've got to figure it out once again. Now they've got to figure out the quarterback situation. How do they take that to the next level? And, I think one of the things you saw them being able to get in that game, get back in there, is you saw CJ running around. You saw him using his legs, where earlier in the season, previous years, that's not what he did. He didn't do it at all. He wanted to sit back there and throw it, which, listen, I don't have a problem with it. I think he's an unbelievable player. But that became one of the issues when it came time. And they weren't able to put enough together. Similar, to McCarthy in Michigan. They didn't want to run him at all this year. They didn't want to run him. All of a sudden, they started running him, and things started happening, but it was too much, too little, too late. Yeah. So, style of play, getting back to it, is you have to be able to dictate the style of play. You got to be able to really command and demand that the style that you're playing at that moment, you have to be able to control it. And so many times right now, you're seeing more and more defenses being able to dictate the offenses, the elite programs. That's what's happening. And the offenses are having to react. Whereas in previous years, when you had a great offense, they controlled all tempo. They controlled everything. And to me, when you have that's why I go back to the quarterback. When you have that quarterback that just knows what to do and can make something out of nothing, and the OC can call the bad play, but he can get you into a better play, it changes everything. Because I played with this guy, Chuck Knox, when I was in the NFL. The Rams were still in the LA. He said, guys, there's 5 affordable plays in every game that changes the outcome of the game. Tip ball, a guard coming off late to pick up the blitzing linebacker, a catch that's just a little bit out of the reach of the receiver, the quarterback maybe not holding on to it for a little bit long, maybe there's a little bit too much pressure on them, that you can go through and it changes the outcome of games. And you can look at these games, and some obviously there'll be more, but when you look at these tight games, it's 5 plays that change everything.
Well, Left, I don't know about you, man, but I think we got our answer.
Yeah.
I mean, because I came into it, I think of it from a multi-sport standpoint.
Yeah.
Right? Because I argue all the time. There are certain teams, look, that 2017-18 Warriors team,
Mm-hmm.
man, it's about 4 or 5 other point guards in the NBA that could have won if you put them in the same spot as Steph Curry, playing next to Kevin Durant and the rest of that squad. I mean, you put Dame Lillard with them, they probably could win a championship, right? So that's a stacked deck. In a sense, that's Georgia and what Kirby's built. A deck that's so stacked that he necessarily doesn't have to go get a dynamic quarterback. He can just get someone that can run the offense at a high efficiency and be a veteran and a leader. And they can move on and continue to do what they do, to whereas everyone else is trying to beat them. You need that dynamic quarterback to be able to overcome. CJ Stroud had to go above and beyond. Like you pointed out, bro, he went above and beyond what he has shown us all season.
Mm-hmm.
He played out of his mind in that game, and he still came up short. So I don't know if moving forward, I think Notre Dame and their recruiting classes moving forward will, from a talent standpoint, close the gap and get closer. Now, I'm not talking about 5 stars, 4 stars. I'm just talking about their ability as a staff to identify talent and develop talent. I think they're doing that. I think their 22 and 23 classes are there, and they'll start to show evidence of that this season. And now, as they start to improve, this is the first season in a long time, Malik, that they'll have an actual quarterback coach on the staff, and Gino Guidugli. So that's a change that was much needed. That Marcus identified, I believe, halfway through the season. Like, all right, we got to change some things. So I don't think he was at all heartbroken over the departure of Tommy Rees, if you ask me. I think he was like, okay, if you want to bounce. Now, like you said, you talked about it, Howard, as he begins to tinker and build the coaching staff as he sees fit and it fits his vision, we'll start to see the manifestation on the recruiting trail and on the field of his vision.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges is I'll throw this one out there too at you. When you start talking about style of play, you talk about offensive coordinators, you talk about these head coaches. We talk about Kirby Smart, right? And he's a defensive guy. You talk about Nick Saban, obviously a defensive guy as well. These guys don't call plays. Plays go through them, they're not calling the plays, right? We're watching that change now at Ohio State with Brian Hartline now being the offensive coordinator that's going to call plays. I think as much as you want to be able to control the game as a head coach, at the very top programs, it's you really can't do it. I don't think it's enough. It's so much going on around your program that you need to handle, that you have to make sure that you're hiring the right coaching staff. And I remember when Urban first got to Ohio State, because I think it was the same time, I'm blanking on his name, but the point is I asked him, how good is this coaching staff? Because I'd heard of other coaches. One of the things they say, we're putting the best coaching staff that we could put together, or the best coaching staff I've ever been around with this new program. He was like, Howard, I don't know. It's going to take some time. I'm going to have to, we'll see how, people respond in certain situations. But I don't know if they're as good as the staff I had in Florida, because we'd already won a championship there. Now put in a different staff. There's still some new components or some similarities with this staff as far as personnel and coaches are concerned, but it's still a different staff. So I don't know. So it took them a while to tinker. I think the same thing will happen with Marcus. He experienced it this offseason. going to tinker around. Some guys are going to want to go other places, see some opportunities, and then they're going to be that core. I think the key is that people around the country and coaches around the country believe that he is the guy and believe that he is doing the right thing and understand and have a great deal of respect for him. So they want to be a part of that staff. And hell, the reality is you can coach at Notre Dame. I mean, it's a special place. There's no question about that. But I think as they continue to develop, and we talked about the recruiting continuing to elevate, and I think you're right, we'll see it on the field this year. You'll start to see those, them being able to take that next step. I think the challenge when you talk about quarterbacks is being able to identify these guys so early and be in on them so early that you have to have people, everybody on that staff has to be a dog when it comes to recruiting. And Marcus knows that. So in Marcus' eyes, if you're not recruiting as hard as I'm recruiting, then you're not recruiting. So, I think that kind of sets the table. And I think historically, I don't know that every coach wanted to recruit like that. So it's going to be different. And you probably could put an All-American team together, guys that probably wanted to come to Notre Dame, but there wasn't a coach on campus at the time when they were visiting up north, so they couldn't come to Notre Dame and visit that particular time. I'm sure you've heard those stories. But
yeah.
But I think, listen, I think they've got a chance to really be special. It's going to take some time. Sure, can they do something about facilities? Yeah, but that's going to come. Facilities don't win you championships. They really don't. They help the kids that are on campus at that moment, but they're not going to win the championship for you. But as long as they can get those guys that they can target at an early age and be able to get them vested and buying in, man, I think the sky's the limit for them. And when you look at these elite programs, that's really what it is. And I do. I look at Notre Dame as an elite program. Yeah, last year wasn't what they wanted it to be, but that can all be changed. You can fix all of that stuff. When you've won championships, been to championships, you can get back there. It's just about being able to do it. You know how to do it. It's been done before, so you can reach back in your past and understand how it worked. Now it's about going out and executing and executing the game plan and putting the right coaching staff together, which I think he's done, and keep moving.
Lucky Lefty podcast. I got Howard Griffith. You can catch him on the BTN network. I'm sure they're getting ready to cover teams starting for the spring.
Yes, indeed.
And I'm gonna bring my bike down to the city, bro. Hit that trail with you.
Yeah, man, you gotta get down here.
I'm gonna hit that trail with you.
A couple of weeks away. I'm not getting out there yet, although it's supposed to be 50 in the city.
Right.
So I might be able to get out there. If it's too windy, I'm not riding outside. I'm just gonna get on the Peloton and call it a day.
Man, I got my Peloton right here. I just started on that. I can't rock with you. You and JP on another level with that Peloton. Y'all cats are beasts. Man, do I see you this weekend down in the Bend?
No, you won't see me down there.
Okay.
But you know what? They got a lot of players that really are going to excel. I think they're really going to, make names for themselves. Again, they've done some great things, and at the combines, I think there'll be some big numbers put up at South Bend Friday. I
can't wait. Pro Day, spring practices start this week.
Yes,
we'll be down there to cover it. Howard Griffith will have you back on sometime during the summer, man, and hopefully, I can't get to the city. I might have you take some. I might need you to take some briefcases over to Hyde Park in the west side of Chicago, bro.
Yeah, Hyde Park on the west side. You can maybe get the dude on the west side.
Oh, without a doubt.
He should be a lock.
Right? Without a doubt.
This guy South, I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I saw he
work.
Yeah, I saw he went down to Bama, so you might be right. That might be a different party.
Things worked out because the last kid that went down there, the tight end Billingsley, went down there. It didn't quite work out.
Didn't quite work out.
So
You're right.
that might be a feather in Notre Dame's cap right there.
And I don't know what I'm thinking. If I give him the briefcase, they might end up in Champaign.
They might.
You know what? How about this? Don't hand out any briefcase. Just put them a sweet NIL deal together.
Yeah. That's what the briefcase represents now.
Yeah, that's what it represents.
Another thing you got to put together.
Whatever.
You got that deal, but you got to start putting retention bonuses in. So
Ooh.
if you come back, this is what you get.
Mm.
The retention bonuses what a lot of these people are doing right now.
You heard it right here, Lucky Lefty Podcast. Hey, we appreciate you, bro. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. You guys enjoy the rest of the week.
All right, you too. Once again, Howard Griffith, Big Ten Network, right here on the Lucky Lefty Podcast. Hey, Left. He kind of changed my mind, Left. Because I really, from a college football standpoint, I was really of the mindset that, look, at this point, just build up this defensive line, raise the level of the defense, and get you a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be the number one pick in the draft and win championships. But like you said, the style of play is driven by the quarterback, and it's also driven by the teams that you're chasing. So
Exactly.
you need a running quarterback if that's the case. Because Michigan has J.J. McCarthy, a Cal McCord, Devin Brown. They can move around. I don't know. I haven't seen the quarterbacks that Georgia is going to have in the battle this spring, but Jalen Milroe can move around. Ty Simpson can move around.
Ty Simpson can move around.
Yeah, the dynamic performance of the quarterback is vitally important moving forward for Notre Dame to win a national championship in the style of play that Marcus Freeman. He said he wants to take chances. Like, he just doesn't want to sit back, run the ball 3 times, and then punt. He wants to take big shots, and he has the size and the speed in that wide receiver room in 2023 to be able to execute that type of game plan with Sam Hartman coming in, and even Tyler Buckner to an extent, the way he's developed and grown at Notre Dame. So looking forward to that, Lev. Looking forward to it.
It's going to be lit.
Yeah, great conversation today. We thank Howard Griffith for joining us. Once again, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, CNB Nation, in conjunction with Irish Breakdown, all of our great content. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. We spin it different. I can't wait. Left, look. The website has a date.
Has a date?
The website has a date.
They ain't got no date, man.
And there are going to be certain things on the website that you cannot get on the podcast. Left is going to have his own scouting corner.
Yeah.
With Elite 11 quarterbacks that he is involved with. He goes to the Elite 11 tournament each and every year. He's going to be scouting those quarterbacks in the 24 class and 25 classes and Notre Dame prospects or recruits that Notre Dame will be looking at over the next 2 years. We can't wait to get it to you. It's almost there. We even got our logo revised. So I can't wait to drop that.
Big teams.
Yeah, big teams. And we're still waiting for feedback on whether or not Braylon James is going to do the open.
That's right. That's right. On there. That's a little NIL.
We put it out there. We're like, hey,
we give royalties at Lucky Lefty Records.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we can put it out there, Left. We're working to do a live show in South Bend the weekend of the Blue and Gold game. We're just trying to get the location. So we'll be doing a live show, hopefully, as soon as we hammer down this location. Probably the Friday before the game.
That's right.
Locally. So excited, tuned. Left. Stay tuned, man. Stay tuned.
To a local space near you where we spin it different. Home of the misguided passion, man. And look, the record label's starting too, Tell them about your EP with your daughter dropping.
That's my daughter, man. She's like in the studio this week, finishing up the final touches on her EP. You can follow her on Instagram, Ari, Where You Been? ARI, Where You Been? She actually did a
title. Is that the EP title?
No. No, we keeping the EP title. It's definitely gonna be Chicago. Come on now. Stop it. She knows where she's from. She spends the most of her time on the left coast, but she knows where she's from, Left.
That's right.
You can believe that. So Ari, Where You Been on Instagram. You go there now. She has clips, with her acoustic guitar and doing her thing. It's hard, Left. Right?
It's hard.
It's hard, man, to hear, because she produces, she writes, composes, produces all her own tracks. Like, and sings and performs, right? So she'll play a track for me. And you can tell when someone that creates loves what they do, they're like, yo, I really like this. And they play the track and you're like, it's all right. But you don't really want to say that. And then I'm caught in between being a dad.
Why don't you say like I'll do something a little different on the reverb or something,
No, it's for me. Look,
you're not sugarcoating it. Yeah.
No, I can't, Left. I can't do that, man. I can't. I have to be that standard for her. I love it.
Okay,
I have to be that standard for her, man. I have to be, right? I'm not the cuddle.
Oh, okay.
I'm not the cuddler.
She coming for a real review from you.
Man. Like as soon as we finish the show today, we're headed to the studio, Left.
Yeah. So she only asking you when it's like, she knows it's a hit. She not just gonna come bring random ideas to you. Huh?
No, but I love the fact that she is a producer and she's getting better at mastering her own. She's learning the entire gamut.
Yeah, on the
right?
side.
And that was my dream for her early on when I was taking her to like piano lessons and everything. I'm like, dude, just learn
everything.
And don't be stuck on just being an artist. Like you can, man, somebody needs that album mastered. Cool. That's money. They need a beat. That's money. They need a song written. It's money. So, Ari, Where You Been? EP dropping this summer. Early summer. You know what time it is, Left?
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty historic? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, pettiest story of the day brought to you by Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com, and Premium American Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. So we put your boy Mario Chalmers on the petty train yesterday.
What is he talking about?
Look, today is we're going to give a choice to LL Nation on who is petty. Have you seen this viral video? Texas and Louisville played in the NCAA women's tournament last night. And we've seen Louisville play Notre Dame 3 times. So Notre Dame fans are pretty familiar with Louisville. And their best player, little Lefty, she's sweet, man. Sweet little jump shots. Nice little player, man. Malik. She was going through the line at the end of the game where they shake hands. And one of the Texas players stops her. And I don't know why everybody still doesn't know what she said. Like, I broke the code last night.
I broke the code.
Plenty of people broke the code last night. Look, she told the young lady, man, good game. But if you call me a B again, I'm going to whoop your A. That's what she told her. Like, you don't have to figure out what she said. She told the girl.
Soon as girl turned away, she said, "Oh, okay, it's on that."
If you call me a B again, I'm getting at you. I'm tapping that.
That's right.
Who was petty? I just need to know who was petty because in basketball, I've heard some crazy things said during competition, bro. I've heard some dudes.
Is she lost? She lost, so it comes off as petty. If she didn't lose. And she still approached the girl, was like, all right, we won anything, but don't get crazy now. Then that would make it different. She comes off as petty because she sees as a sore loser that's trying to fight now. Oh, you want to fight? Oh, where was that energy at during the game? So that's what That's why the girls like, man, get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like,
Hey, look, I'm just telling you. I talk trash
yeah.
on the basketball court.
Crazy trash.
So
Crazy trash.
that's because in baseball, you really can't talk trash. You just can't. It's like this. Basketball was the only outlet I really had to talk trash.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever called anyone out of their name and talking trash. Like I've told someone that you're trash. Like, dude, you trash. I'm killing you. You garbage. I've said stuff like that. If I don't know how to react if somebody would have called me the B word on the court. It might have been a conversation. I don't know if I would have done it in the shake-up line because the cameras would have been on it. But I might have circled back around in a tunnel. You know, it's like because that
it's only serious where it's in places.
Yeah.
If you're doing it in front of all them people, I ain't taking you serious. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you catch somebody in the hallway.
Yeah.
Oh, I know you won, but don't be again. Okay, now she like, oh, let me tighten up a little bit.
Right.
Maybe
right.
you gotta say it in the right place. So that's what makes her petty. Because what she gonna do? Fire on her right there in the line? Come on, man. What? That's why she was like, man, what you gonna do right here? You gonna do it for all these people? Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So that's what made her petty for it.
And then the parameters, man. I don't know. I don't know how it was said, when it was said.
If it said it, if the girl said it, Louisville girl said it in the game, it's part of the game.
And then if they were just talking trash, then it's just part of y'all talking trash. Like if you were just
getting upset and want to take it after that because you lost, you see what I'm saying?
Dude, because see, you're right. See, that's what I'm saying. The moment she called you a B, that should have been the scene.
Should have been the scene
on the court. In the game. Absolutely, Left. Absolutely. The moment she said it, I'm getting a tech.
Yeah, I'm getting a tech. Because if you that serious, if you were talking about it in the shake-up line, then you should have did it in the game.
Right.
You wait till in the shake-up line. Well, now it's like, what you mad?
Right.
And then what you gonna do? Do something in line? Come on, man. I got my team. You got your team. You trying to royal? Yeah, right.
Right.
Whatever, man.
Right. Yeah. That's because of the way she did it. I think she was petty. Now I think the other young lady, because she had overstepped her bounds.
She could have, yeah, of course.
Possibly.
When you lose, everything was out of bounds.
Mama. But let's stop playing like we don't know what she said. We know exactly what she told.
Yeah. It would have been more serious of a threat if it was in the hallway behind where nobody was at. We shake up and then we meet in the back. And now I'm talking crazy. Okay, now, I would think differently of it. Because you were like, I'm gonna wait till after the game. Okay, that's waiting after the game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get okay. All right. That's what the NBA players, they fake run to the tunnel. The NBA is theater, man. The NBA is theater.
Well, I guess we lost Left.
No, I'm here.
Man, you guys have a great day. That's it. Thank you, Howard Griffith. Thank you, Stephen Bardo, for giving us the go-ahead to play your clips. Bardo's Breakdown. Don't forget on YouTube. Go follow right now for all of your great conversations surrounding college basketball. I don't know what happened. Hey, guys, have a great day. But most of all, make sure that you spend it different. Have a great Tuesday. See you guys tomorrow. First spring practice report for myself and Left. Peace out.